Questions from you guys? Yes, sir. And glasses there. Yes, sir.
I've always been impressed by the team's discipline and Lance's ability to focus, you know, measuring his food, all this type of thing. It's always baffled me that I believe it was the 2003 time trial where he got severely dehydrated. How did that happen? You had great, you know, coaches, soigneurs, everybody was there. You know, how does something like that happen?
Yeah, well, sometimes there's no physical explanation. And I think it was just that year everything went wrong. And Lance didn't feel good from the start of the tour, and he was, in my opinion, constantly on the limit. And when somebody always pushes his body to the limit, if a little thing goes wrong, it can have tremendous consequences. If you're in great shape and you always have a little bit of cushion, certain things your body doesn't even notice it. And I think you can compare it with an athlete which is really on the top of his form, and he's really skinny, and you know, it's very easy that they get sick. Your body is so vulnerable, and I think Lance was just vulnerable. But on top of that, you know, it was a very particular tour. That month of July was extremely hot, like never before. And Lance was not very good in the heat, in the extreme heat. So I think it was really a combination of a lot of factors. But I mean, I can definitely confirm I was with him in the hotel when he went on the scale after that time trial, and it was tremendous, the weight he lost in fluids. I think it was about 5 kilos or 6 kilos or something. But at least, you know, it served to see that he wasn't as bad as he thought he was, because we could find a reason for his bad performance. And I remember I drew on a little piece of paper. I had the split times. There was three official split times during that stage. And after 10 kilometers, Lance was completely equal with Ulrich. They had exactly the same time. So I used that to motivate him and to tell him, you know, if everything's right, you're exactly the same as him in the time trial, and you're a better climber. So all we have to do now is fix the dehydration problem, and you'll be back. And you know, he believed it. and the day after, he felt better.
Yeah, that's right. Was that the year that he took the fall at Dauphiné?
It was, yes.
Yeah.
And I think we made a big mistake there. That's where everything started to go wrong. You know, he had a big crash, and he was in the leader's jersey, and he absolutely wanted to win that race. And ultimately, you know, it was not such an important race, but he was a competitor, and he didn't like the guy who was second so much, and he didn't want him to win. So, but it almost cost us the Tour de France.
Right. The question was, Alberto Contador won the Tour last year. Was that a surprise? And are there some other athletes that you're working with who you see as great cyclists in the future?
Yeah, it was definitely a surprise, because I can tell you, there's one guy who was very close to Alberto, and he told me about 3 days before the Tour that he thought Alberto would win the Tour. And you know, I was very realistic about the situation. It was only the second tour he did, and he was 24. He was not even 25 years old, and we had set some goals for him. We would try to win a mountain stage, and his big goal would be to try the white jersey for the best young rider. And I was more or less convinced that the last week would be very hard for him, and he would never be able to compete against the favorites. And I bet money on the fact that I thought he would win, and I lost. So I was definitely. I mean, I knew he was a big talent, but I thought it was too early. And you know, ultimately he prevailed as being the best of the team, but under normal circumstances he wouldn't have won, because Rasmussen was a lot stronger. But then he got sent home.
Right.
So he kind of rolled into that favorite role and got that yellow jersey. But since then, he really evolved as I think one of the greatest stage racers for the moment, and he's definitely going to be one of the dominant figures in the next few years for the big races.
Yes,
what was the second part of the question?
There was other riders coming up, other
riders coming up. Well, Contador is definitely still young, so I think he still has to improve. And then you have a guy like Andy Schleck, is in my opinion a contender for the future. There's a good guy on I'm always Team Colombia. I'm always thinking of High Road.
High Road,
Team
right.
Colombia. I have to think about that because next week I go to Versus, and I have to say Colombia instead of High Road. He's wearing the white jersey now. It's I think it's a guy from Sweden. His name is Lofqvist, and that's going to be a good one for the future. And you know, I think that's about it. That's those three are probably the guys for the next few years.
Thank you.
And there's a very good talent in the United States, but he's still very, very young. His name is Taylor Finney.
Taylor Finney, right. Yes, he is.
Yes.